Story 1. I work with a person who is really into government conspiracies and preparing for emergencies. I would hire a black helicopter and a couple of SUVs to follow him around all day. Story 2. Buy every book I have ever wanted and build a small house dedicated to housing my books on extravagant bookshelves, complete with cozy reading areas. Story 3. Brew a latte and bake scones, sit on the sofa, and read a book from sunrise to sunset, taking a break to walk the dogs for a couple of hours around noon. Then make handmade pasta for dinner on a Wednesday. I would simply relax and enjoy finally feeling safe. After that, I would donate to charities. I don't think I could handle being a billionaire. Knowing people are suffering and I could help them with a pen and a wave of the hand would make me a millionaire very quickly. Story 4. Hire the smartest minds in economics, political science, environmental studies, and technology to provide me with a fact-based picture of the world we live in. Activism and altruism cannot be effectively practiced without proper knowledge. Story 5. I would buy large amounts of debt at a low cost and forgive the debt. I would not target specific groups of people. Instead, I would aim for any debt, most likely held by retail workers, such as car loans and student loans, to avoid paying off the debts of individuals already capable of settling them on their own. Story 6. I would buy my own McDonald's restaurant because then I would be the owner and could get free nuggets anytime I wanted. Story 7. Somehow, find a way to help my mom stop suffering from graft versus host disease. She has experienced it several times since receiving a bone marrow transplant after having leukemia. I hate cancer. It ruins everything. Story 8. Same as before. Live frugally. I may invest that money in land in different states, get them registered, buy gold which is not affected by inflation, and invest in funds. At this wealth level, even index funds are a good option. Story 9. I would donate several ambulances and contribute funds to build much-needed social infrastructure, including schools, small hospitals, and fire stations. Story 10. Give 60% of it to organizations I have researched and believe in, then give half of what is left to my family and enjoy the rest. Story 11. I would buy this land and turn it into a botanical park with all the amenities. I want to create a place where people can go on dates, take pictures, and create lasting memories. I will also install bird cameras so that people who cannot go out can watch live streams of birds. My goal is to provide a beautiful space where everyone can enjoy themselves and feel happy. Story 12. The first step is buying a house. I am tired of renting and sharing. The second step is starting a nonprofit construction business to build low-cost entry-level homes for people who cannot afford a place to live in this challenging world. The third step is to take care of the people closest to me. They are the ones who would never ask for a share of the windfall if they knew. They are the ones who step in to help when I am at my lowest. Story 13. Buy an island, build a house, and set up defense turrets around the perimeter so I never have to interact with people again. Story 14. How many billions? I would probably just give $500,000 to a group of randomly selected homeless individuals and keep a few million for myself. Story 15. Every charity in my neighborhood would receive a significant donation. This would pay off all local elementary school lunch debts and fund the local homeless kitchen and medical office. Story 16. Honestly, the first thing I would do is take a deep breath, let it sink in, and then set up a plan to secure my family's future. After that, I would quietly start building something meaningful, such as investing in education, health, and startups that actually improve life. Story 17. Having a substantial shift in resources, I need to clear my mind first. I will attend a psychedelic ceremony or use a high dose of LSD. I will use the insights from that experience to understand my values more deeply and explore how I can contribute on a global scale. I will then start my own advocacy group to support the causes that align with my values and beliefs. Once that is in place, I will ensure to hire the most skilled individuals who excel in speaking, debating, and understanding human nature to drive and accelerate our efforts. Once I gain a sense of influence, I will return for another ceremony to keep my ego in check, and then reassess and adjust our strategic plan. Story 18 billion, you say? Set up a cash scavenger hunt for certain coworkers, leave my keys and access badge on my desk, and take the stereos and audiobooks I have stored in my office. Drop off $1 million in cash at a couple of former coworkers' houses on the way home. Story 19. Buy a plot of land. Install a network of paths, a play park, a maze, water features, and benches. Plant thousands of native trees and flowers. Open the area to the public for free. Include a space for a Lido to encourage families and children to enjoy nature. Story 20. Help some homeless people. While we may not change the world, we can alleviate the suffering of a few individuals. Then, 2 individuals at the same time. Story 21. First of all, I will provide my entire family with what they need, and then I will become a philanthropist. I don't understand people who are wealthy and still feel sorry for their money, or those who help only in front of the cameras to show how generous they are. I would prefer to do it anonymously. Story 22. Cry big, fat tears of joy. Then I would buy and clean the worst of the United Kingdom's mainstream media. I would appoint editors and boards with journalistic integrity to report the facts, not opinionated or propagandist spin, and properly hold decision-makers to account. Story 23. Create a foundation or other organization for charity. Additionally, I will have someone address the various tasks that still need to be completed in and around the house, such as skirting boards and painting. Story 24. I quit my job. I plan to buy a home with a yard and build a workshop filled with tools to learn and work on projects. Story 25. Pay off a friend's mortgage. She is a single mother who, through no fault of her own, works 2 jobs while managing her responsibilities. Story 26. Quit my job, buy a smith, and work with steel all day. I don't want fancy things. I would probably buy some gold, bury it, calculate how much I need to have $3,000 to $5,000 each month, and give the rest to charity. I just want my peace. Story 27. Hire 2 independent law firms. Rewrite my will and manage all end-of-life arrangements. Take a few weeks for myself to figure everything out, preferably in a tropical location. Part of that would involve designing a recording studio. My dogs will enjoy filet mignon. Story 28. Quit work, have fun, and start giving money away to any good cause I choose. I will probably start some kind of trust so that the money can do good long after I'm gone. Story 29. I would set aside some money for a comfortable retirement to cover medical bills, electricity, food, a decent house, a decent car, and some amenities. The rest I would share with my family, friends, coworkers, and homeless individuals. I prefer not to give money to charities. Instead, I would like to get involved personally to ensure that the funds go directly to the causes they support, rather than to executives or management's pockets. Story 30. Use every last cent to ensure that I am the last billionaire and that billionaires can never exist again. Story 31. Invest in the Green New Deal and other projects that benefit everyone. All we can save: truth, courage, and solutions for the climate crisis. A collection of essays edited by Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson and Catherine Wilkinson was published in 2020. What if we get it right? Visions of Climate Futures by Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson will be released in 2024. Palaces for the People: How Social Infrastructure Can Help Fight Inequality, Polarization, and the Decline of Civic Life by Eric Klinenberg was published in 2018. Story 32. Bring about fundamental change to American charity and politics. We need a more empathetic and reasonable society. Story 33. Frankly, I will start with myself. I will invest in myself until I am satisfied, and then focus on everything else. I am a billionaire. Story 34. Give half to Bernie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, so they can advance a significant midterm election strategy. Donate enough to keep National Public Radio afloat until 2028. Contribute to the American Civil Liberties Union, and provide 2 years of college or trade school along with living expenses to everyone in my city coming out of Chicago public schools. Support the libraries in my area. Surprise the people who helped me when I needed it most. Show my dearest friends and family great love so they never have to worry about anything. I would invest to ensure the love continues for as long as possible. For myself, I would travel everywhere I could, until I couldn't travel anymore. I would remain where I am and wouldn't tell anyone. Story 35. Buy my dream house and a brand new car. Then fund a program in my area to financially assist other nursing students and donate to any family in my county struggling to pay rent or utilities. Story 36. Set up multiple income streams in which profits are distributed directly to various charities that benefit humanity. Story 37. Get an accountant and anyone who needs assistance to improve their standard of living. If we could raise the bar so that the worst living conditions were comparable to a well-maintained trailer park in the United States, lives would be saved and significantly improved. Hopefully, public pressure would encourage other billionaires to help and follow suit. Story 38. To be honest, I would donate most of it and give a lot to people in need. Then, I would open a few businesses to generate income and buy a decent house to keep my parents happy. Story 39. Open a bank in the UAE to receive the funds and renounce my primary citizenship to avoid the 50% capital gains tax bill. Story 40. Ensure my loved ones are cared for, put 100,000 in savings just in case, and they start buying and forgiving debt. Story 41. Take care of my family, help my ex, quit my job, travel frequently, and invest in becoming a minority owner of a National Basketball Association team. Additionally, I would start a large farm to grow my own food and livestock and set up a separate area to adopt many dogs so they can have wonderful lives. Story 42. Get off Reddit because you might want to harm me for something, then set my parents up with their dream retirements. My mom wants a nice house in my childhood city, and my dad probably won't willingly stop working. Until he does, I hope for awesome vacations, top-tier healthcare, paid-off debts, and a car he can comfortably drive. Story 43. I would sponsor mental health facilities and support secular organizations that assist the homeless, such as the Salem Neighborhood Homeless Coalition. Story 44. Put half in savings and investments. Pay off my dad's and my brother's mortgages. Buy houses in my hometown, my adopted hometown, and Mexico City. Donate a portion to the National Abortion Fund and the reproductive health clinics in my hometown. Story 45. Buy a house, a couple of cars, and a project car to teach my son with. I want to get my kids a home, keep to myself, help a few people along the way, pay off debt, assist a couple of friends with housing and medical bills, try to find a hobby, get back into shape, and do some traveling so my kids can see historic sites firsthand. Nothing too spectacular. Story 46. I want to buy my own self-sufficient island and invite only my close family and friends to stay with me whenever they desire. Story 47. Bigyan ko ang mga pulubi at bigyan ng mga bahay ang walang tinitirahan, lalo na ang mga hindi nakapag-aral. Paralyn Ko. That's all. Story 48. I have arranged for my car to be dropped off for a full restoration. I want to travel the entire world. If I were a multi-billionaire, I would attempt to buy my way into controlling a very low gross domestic product (GDP) country and work on improving it, somewhere like Mauritania. It would be like a real-life simulation. Story 49. I would ensure that children in need have food available for them at school, in as many schools as I can afford without going broke. Story 50. Nice large plot of land in a remote area. Build a spacious mansion with a 10-car garage. Enclose the entire property with a fence. Display numerous signs that state, trespassers will face consequences. Story 51. Be quiet about it. When people discover you have money, they suddenly become your best friends. Story 52. Buy properties and stocks, travel to countries I have never visited before, establish an orphanage and a business to provide job opportunities for those in need, even without prior experience or training. Story 53. Get a financial advisor immediately and share the benefits with my partner, of course. He has done so much for me. He deserves it. Story 54. Get a lawyer and sue two people because I want my vengeance. I do not even care if I win. I want them to suffer, worry, and stress. Story 55. Do not say anything to anyone. Pay all taxes owed. Pay off my mortgage. Complete renovations on my condominium. Purchase my fiance's house and hire someone to handle all the necessary repairs. Allow him and his roommate to live there rent-free with all bills covered for the rest of their lives so they can be fully retired. Seek opportunities to help others anonymously without expecting anything in return. Story 56. I would gather as much physical cash as possible, place it in a large fire, and set it ablaze. People would be encouraged to collect as much as they can before it all turns to ashes. Story 57. I would hire a lawyer and a financial advisor immediately. Then, I would quickly buy a condominium in a secure area and remain there while I organized everything else. In the long term, I would likely donate a significant portion of my wealth to charitable causes. Story 58. I would honestly take about 50 million and probably go to Las Vegas for a month. I would gamble and play golf. Then I would come back and help my community. Story 59. Buy a house and provide housing for everyone in my circle who needs it. Then start a tiny house village for people who need to get off the street. I would invest in housing. Story 60. Go to a top law firm and a leading planning firm for high net worth clients. Then I would go house hunting in Kona. Story 61. Buy a nice farmhouse outside a small city with ample land and well-compensated farmhands, as I recognize their value from my farming background. Focus on dairy, eggs, fruits, and vegetables. Include some horses as enjoyable companions, as well as sheep for their wool and dogs. Ensure that local charities meet their income quotas, with my accountant verifying everything is above board. Provide an outbuilding for homeless individuals to work on the farm and regain their footing. In the city, I would develop various residential accommodations that are not for profit, covering only fees and minimal rent. I would establish my own university with means-tested fees. If someone cannot pay, they are not required to, but must repay in other ways. I will also create a community trust. Story 62. Acquire several businesses and take credit for starting them. Have numerous children through in vitro fertilization and behave with a lack of self-awareness. Perhaps influence an election and create an agency to dismantle any regulations that oppose my business interests, framing it as a way to save taxpayers' dollars, even though I do not pay taxes. Eventually, I may ruin my company due to widespread unpopularity. Story 63. Purchase a few thousand acres in the woods and build a nice home there, essentially living as a hermit. Create a large garden and greenhouse, a spacious library, a generous kitchen, an indoor pool, and plenty of good walking trails in the woods. Regarding community, it would be beneficial to invest approximately $250 million into constructing a small manufacturing facility that produces high-quality, simple items. Products should be well-made, reparable, and durable. This manufacturing plant would be modular, allowing for easy reconfiguration to create different products. The building would not exceed 100,000 square feet and would be designed to provide several jobs that offer a good living wage for the area. Any profits would be reinvested into the business for expansion, maintenance, and employee benefits. While it won't single-handedly transform the economy of a small town, it would represent a significant step forward for a community in need of a solid foundation for jobs. Story 64. First, build a portfolio of stocks to generate a salary from interest. Then, seek available startup products and work to bring them to market. As a billionaire, I should be able to influence others. Story 65. I want to disappear completely. I plan to hire a good lawyer and change my name legally, without any public announcement. I will move without notifying anyone except my son and daughter, who are in their 40s, about my new location. I intend to buy an ordinary house that doesn't attract attention, as well as a different car than the one I currently drive. I might consider plastic surgery. I will close all my social media accounts and emails. In short, I aim to make it difficult for anyone to find me using outdated information. For added security, I'll install a fence around my new home and take my 4 German Shepherds with me, as they provide better security than alarms. I also need to think about who I will give some money to. I am a retired engineer and do not require more money. All I desire is to be left alone so I can enjoy fishing and pursue my other hobbies, all of which I can already afford. Story 66. I am not very smart. I would provide my immediate family with some land, modest homes, livestock, and fertile land, then request a discussion with the Carthusians on what to do with the rest. Story 67. I would buy myself a nice house. Not a mansion, but 4 to 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I would pay off all debts and deposit the remainder in a bank to live off the interest. I might consider quitting my job or going to school to try something different, but I am not sure what. Alternatively, I may just continue working where I am, free of the stress of losing my job as I enjoy working. I would pay off my car and buy a new Volkswagen van because it looks great and I could use a van. I would place my mother in a care facility since she is not able to take care of herself due to mental health issues. My siblings and I try to help, but it is hard. This way, others can provide the care for her that we cannot. I would address both my debt and my wife's debt. Additionally, I would buy a second home in my wife's hometown in Mexico, so we can visit whenever she wants, located right beside her parents' house. Story 68. I prefer to avoid attention, so I would find a place where I can live in peace. This could be an island or a nice area far enough from the main city but close enough to travel back and forth. Story 69. Start building apartments in cities and cap the rent at a third of tenants' income. San Francisco, New York City, and Los Angeles are pricing out the people who make those places important. I would focus on keeping American cities vibrant and interesting. Supporting everyday people benefits everyone. Story 70. I would start a practical joke service shop. People would bring in their laptops for repair and I would say, I have seen this issue before. It just needs a small adjustment. And then proceed to hit it with a hammer while explaining that it doesn't always work. I would also buy businesses that I believe are operating inefficiently, have staff I do not like or have unhelpful policies, and then proceed to improve them. Story 71. Live humbly. Ensure I have a safety net for life. Next, make connections to start helping people with minimal reciprocal obligations. For example, if I provide housing, maintain the property, and we won't have to worry about profiteering. The problem is I have been around people who do not want to acknowledge what it truly takes to operate these types of services. My personal ambition is to create, but I lack consistent artistic logic. Story 72. Run for office and hire a team of lawyers to help me address these issues. God bless you all. Story 73. I was shocked, and after I took care of that, I started booking travel for when my dream cottage is being built on my property. Story 74. Hire a lawyer, pay off debt, and hire an accountant. Then I would pay off debt for my family, buy a home, and provide lunches for children in my state. I would also begin to influence legislation to reform medical billing and the insurance industry in the United States. Additionally, I would address my own medical concerns. Story 75. I often think about this idea. I would purchase a large island in the Pacific Northwest of Canada, specifically in the Georgia Strait, and create a new free city featuring a world-class research hospital and university. I would build high-density townhomes and low-rise apartments, which would be accessible at low cost to people employed at these institutions. All the patents developed at these facilities would fund additional housing, support services, and the expansion and growth of my city. I would strive to create a society where all individuals are free and treated fairly. However, it would not be a democracy as many people lack understanding. Story 76. I would immediately make any family and friends who have treated me well millionaires. Then I would start a philanthropic business to help people. After all, I will need a job to keep me occupied. I would be bored just sitting at home all day. After that, I would buy a few things that I have been interested in but have previously been out of reach for me. Story 77. Pay off my bills and my wife's bills, set some money aside for my son's final year of college, deposit the majority in my checking account, contribute some to a Roth individual retirement account, build a modest house with an entertainment room for movies with theater seating and sound, create a man cave, get involved in worthy causes that help veterans, and then take my wife on a nice vacation. Story 78. I need to arrange for someone to keep my cat company for a week and go somewhere secluded. I plan to write down my values and reflect on how I want to live moving forward. Clearing debts for friends and family would be a satisfying first step, but I am uncertain about what to do next. I genuinely enjoy my job at a library that is severely underfunded. I would spend time improving the library by stocking it better and acquiring resources. After making these improvements, I might resign. Story 79. Set up a homeless shelter for youths in my area or invest in the nearby one. Help my local community college. Explore options for establishing a low-cost public transportation system for individuals who need to get to work but do not live in the city. Although it may be challenging to make it break even, perhaps with an endowment, it could sustain itself through the interest. Allocate the remaining funds responsibly. Story 80. Build a compound and provide housing for anyone who feels endangered by the actions of this government. If they come to get them, we will make it difficult for them. This is purely hypothetical, of course. I will never be allowed to become a billionaire, so this will never happen. There is no need for a ban. Story 81. Buy an island for dogs with complete houses, a theme park, a spa, food stalls, vaccinations, and healthcare for them. Additionally, continue rescuing dogs from shelters. Story 82. I take $25 million for my immediate family and put that into a trust. Then, I set up a family trust and foundation for the remaining amount. My immediate family has a job for life as stewards of this money, ensuring it goes to good causes. In theory, the investment of this money should double every 10 years. The foundation donates 2% a year, roughly $20 million, and increases over time. I encourage all of us to become more knowledgeable about philanthropy and foundations, primarily through formal education and by working with professionals in this field. We can find causes we are passionate about and work to fund those causes. In theory, this money never runs out, and the amount donated can be adjusted to account for gains and losses. Some causes I would help fund include, but are not limited to, education, mental health, healthcare, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, STEM, volunteer income tax assistance programs. I would probably do some other enjoyable activities, help friends and family, buy some unnecessary items, and take a memorable vacation. However, if I have just $1 billion, this is my plan. Story 83. I have wanted to try those fancy grapes from Japan. I also want a house with a big yard for the dog and to get her another dog to play with. Then I can just mind my own business. Story 84. I would get as close to the President of the United States as possible and then volunteer to dismiss as many federal workers as possible while expressing my feelings about people being unkind to me. Wait, no, that sounds unappealing. I'll think it over and get back to you. Story 85. Should I invest as an American billionaire or a local one? Assuming I can be a local investor, I would build a park with a children's playground and a small cozy cafe near my house. I would invest in creating a virtual reality-powered toy compatible with a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. I would add solar panels and a full garage to my house. Additionally, I would buy my wife flowers every week. Story 86. I would get my parents the best healthcare available. They are on Medicare, and I believe they could live 10 years longer with high-quality healthcare instead of the constant runaround and general disinterest in actual diagnoses at the rural hospital they use. They truly do not seem to care and appear to dislike Medicaid and Medicare patients. Story 87. Pay off my house. Remove my current roommate. Buy a fursuit. Purchase more firearms. Inform both of my parents that they no longer need to work. I could spend $100 million changing the lives of everyone I care about. Then the obligatory 2 people at the same time. Story 88. Open a senior citizen help clinic. It is appalling how people treat older individuals and how they are taken advantage of. Additionally, consider hiring someone to address entitled individuals from all strata of society. Story 89. Pay professionals to handle any tasks my parents need for their house. Fund our home projects as well. Plan a family vacation with my sisters, their families, nieces, and nephews for a week of relaxation and enjoyable activities together. Story 90. The first step is to arrange a meeting with a lawyer and a broker. Address the tax situation with the lawyer and set up a portfolio to invest in both growth and dividend stocks, exchange-traded funds, and bonds with the broker. This will serve as my security fund because even wealthy individuals can file for bankruptcy. Whatever remains, I will use to enjoy life and improve the lives of my loved ones. Story 91. Buy my cabin in the woods, acquire the fastest possible internet connection for it, purchase my dad's old car, then walk the earth. Story 92. The problem with questions like this is that, in general, most billionaires who remain billionaires build their support system of financial advisors, tax accountants, legal representation, security, and assistance over the course of years. Investing such a large amount of money in a short period is statistically risky. Having an established support system, such as through inheritance, increases the likelihood of retaining and potentially growing your wealth. You need skilled and trustworthy people around you, and I have no idea how to find them, given my financial situation. Story 93. I would fix my kitchen. It's dull, but that is what I would do. Aside from that, I would set up a charity to help women who experience housing insecurity or are leaving difficult relationships. I would also donate to local schools to ensure that children have access to food, uniforms, and other necessities. Story 94. Buy an island, go there, and pay my local pirate army to defend me and the island with their lives. I have a small army of loyal pirates now because they have free healthcare and a pension. Story 95. Open veterans and elderly wellness centers throughout America, featuring full housing, orchards, greenhouses, and promoting healthy and organic living. Story 96. Buy a house for my siblings, for each of my children, for my parents, and for myself. Then invest everything and live off the returns. Story 97. Set up a couple of trusts and a corporation to manage the funds, so I personally don't hold the money, but I am the executor of the trusts. Include my children as beneficiaries to take care of my immediate family. Then I will likely invest in real estate. Story 98. I can find peace knowing my family won't struggle financially. No money is worth going through misery. Story 99. Go to work like a normal person. I will not let these people undo the years of work I have put into this. Story 100. I think I would invest that billion into a high-yield savings account. Let it accrue interest monthly. Assuming current market rates are around 3.75%, that amounts to $3,125,000 accrued in 1 month. You could then use that $3,125,000 to live on, ensuring that the billion remains untouched and continues to accrue $3,125,000 monthly, depending on the rates as they fluctuate over time. Imagine earning $36 million a year from interest without ever having to work. Even better, your money would remain intact. You would still have your $1 billion untouched. Story 101. String along a person who is currently in a position of immense power so they can manipulate markets for me to make more billions. Story 102. Become a millionaire by donating 99.99% of my money away. I certainly did not obtain the money through any ethical scheme. Story 103. Get a lawyer and an accountant, invest, pay off all my family's debt, move to a quiet and quaint house, and then go from there. I believe I would try to do as much good with it as possible. Story 104. Get a wealth manager or lawyer. Secure the wealth. Clear my debt. Repair the house. Improve my health. Retire. Story 105. Order a helicopter to take me away from my job right now. Goodbye, everyone. I am likely experiencing an emotional outburst with mixed feelings of happiness and anxiety. Story 106. Start supporting politicians and judges like others do. However, I will strive to get competent individuals elected. Story 107. Trying to stay silent for 4 minutes, then take a selfie in a pool filled with chocolate and $100 bills. Story 108. Buy houses in Europe and Asia, establish trust funds for my children, send my wife to the best hospital possible in Europe for proper treatment, hire a helper at home, quit my job, work with a personal trainer to get back in shape, arrange tutoring for my children, and plan numerous vacations. Invest in gold in Switzerland and acquire 100 million in stocks within European sectors that can withstand trade challenges with the United States. Create charities aimed at breaking the cycle of poverty while supporting existing organizations that provide immediate relief. I will try to meet with Bill Gates to inquire about his recent silence. Additionally, I will invest in advertisements on social media to criticize the Republican Party. Story 109. I would buy and wear a brand new pair of the finest socks every day and donate the old pairs to charity. The same goes for towels. I would choose the absolute finest ones for everyday use. There's nothing else I desire. Story 110. Hire a staff. A butler, cook, maid, nanny, and gardener. My life would be immensely better with someone else handling the shopping, cooking, cleaning, babysitting, and organizing. Story 111. Change my phone number, disconnect from any social media, and move to a location far away from anyone considering coming out of the woods. Story 112. I would stop looking for reasonably priced items I am planning to buy and purchase the one I truly want. Story 113. First, I will pay off my debts, then buy a big house, and finally go to an animal shelter to adopt every animal and provide them all with a home. Story 114. The first priority is paying off all the debt, house, cars, and credit cards. Then, saving some money for the kids to go to college. Story 115. Buy myself a nice house and furnish it. Take my family on a long vacation. Begin donating money strategically to counter the damage being caused by prominent figures. Story 116. Build a large boat, grow out my beard, get a homespun cloak, and start collecting breeding pairs of animals. I saw it on a show. I think it was Doomsday Preppers. Story 117. I would build my dream library room and spend at least the first few months reading all the books I haven't had time to read over the last 10 years. Then I would go on an extended holiday. While on holiday, I would consult with an accountant and learn how to maximize my financial growth to ensure my family and friends are supported enough to avoid struggle, but not so much that they become complacent. I also have an idea for a charity that I have always wanted to pursue, so I would plan and start that as soon as possible. Knowing me, I would definitely want to have some fun pranking my family or even some random people too. Story 118. Disappear. With that kind of money, family would come out of the woodwork looking for loans and handouts. People would try to get close for the money, and I am not interested in that. Story 119. I spend my money on buying plush toys and upgrading my equipment for YouTube videos because I want to. When my channel becomes popular, I run an animation studio similar to Glitch or Squared Media. Basically, I get what I want without overspending. Story 120. Pay off the debts of my friends and family and invest in valuable research related to antibiotic-induced hearing loss in children, which aims to eliminate the need for cochlear implants. There is promising research being conducted that will change countless lives. I would purchase homes for both of my brothers near me for their new families. I would also invest in local institutions that provide significant value. Additionally, I would invest substantially and use the dividends to fund other stem cell research projects that assist children with disabilities. I would strive to allocate as much as possible to meaningful causes that are important to me. Story 121. Make a bunk in a way that keeps me safe from everything: war, zombies, whatever. I am building that bunk. Story 122. You are now a billionaire. What's the first thing you would do? Challenge Leon Husk to a friendly duel. The loser gets exiled to Antarctica with no access to social media. Story 123. Sit down and think, and definitely put rules on myself to keep myself in check. Story 124. I would pack my belongings, move out of my home, and into a hotel so I can plan the rest of my life in peace. Story 125. Same as what Jeff Bezos' ex-wife is doing, actually helping the world and not just running away to space. Story 126. I would buy the entire Audible library and work my way through the complete Warhammer 40,000 Black Library collection. Story 127. I have always wanted to slap a dolphin. They look like they would be really satisfying to slap. I would pay someone to make it happen. I would not want to upset the animal, so I would make sure it is a wild adult dolphin. The worst that could happen is that it might think, "What the heck? Stupid hairless ape." That is what I would spend my money on first. Then I would probably relax for a bit. Story 128. Go on an exclusive luxury cruise. Talk to other wealthy individuals about what a prosperous person needs to do and look out for. Story 129. move out of my council flat, buy some land, and have a bungalow built on it exactly how I want it. Story 130. I would buy a house far away from where I live and go there immediately to sleep for a week. After that, I would think of ways to help my friends. Story 131. I would probably hire a couple of attractive, expensive escorts for the fun of it. I have never been to a prostitute, so I don't know if it is silly, but I would likely consider it for the experience. Story 132. Get off social media and start a variety of hobbies. I could do that now, but they would require money and time, which I do not have because I am tired from working all day. Story 133. Give about 30 select people approximately 5 million each, with the closest 5 people receiving 10 million so they can escape the grind and do what they enjoy. Set aside 100 million for my daughter and 100 million for my wife and me to enjoy, including our own house. 100 million for a rainy day trust fund. 100 million for property and residency in 3 to 4 other countries around the world. 300 million to invest in necessary initiatives. Shift policy in a more humane direction. B. Funding for scientific research. C. Seed funding for innovative startups. Story 134. After being homeless in hotels as a family last year and having health issues, I want to ensure there are funds for my 2 children and a stable family home so they never have to worry about where home is. Story 135. Reading through many of these responses, we have a poor understanding of how much wealth and resources billionaires are hoarding. I would pay my taxes and relinquish my billionaire status. Story 136. Eliminate other billionaires and claim Highlander rights. After successfully defeating them, take their wealth and add it to my own. Once I have conquered all the billionaires, I will invest all my money into research and development to make Star Trek technology a reality. Story 137. Other than the mundane aspects like house and vacation, it's a toss-up with producing a movie. I love films and have always wanted to experience the entire process from script to screen. I want to see it being filmed, edited, and the work of the costume and set teams at every stage. Alternatively, I could hire a ghostwriter for a few book ideas I have in mind but lack the skills to bring them to life. Honestly, I would probably want to pursue both. Story 138. Invade Canada and Greenland, then upset all my friends and invite the person who bullied everyone at school to be my best friend. Story 139. Build a man-made floating fortress island that can move in any direction away from predicted incoming water storms and declare sovereignty because many of the country's laws are unreasonable, especially regarding property taxes and banking regulations. Story 140. As a lifelong insomniac with significant sleep issues caused by kidney transplant medications, I would invest in sleep. Specifically, I would research and purchase the most comfortable mattress, bed sheets, and comforter ever created for my new sleep area. I would also consult with specialists to have surgery on my throat so I would not have to use a sleep apnea machine any longer. Then, I would find a quiet place to rent for 6 months and allow my body to enjoy as much sleep as possible. After that, I think I will buy a stylish hat. Story 141. I'm sorry, I cannot assist with that. Story 142. There is an empty lot next to a business I dislike. A large water fountain shaped like a phallus with a beautiful garden will be built there. Story 143. Drive to the Ferrari dealership, specify a 12-cylinder and a 488, and purchase a nice used one to drive home in. Story 144. This is a good question because I notice that many people do not know how to use their money and end up wasting it all, being left with nothing. Spending billions of dollars is a very hard task because a billion is a massive number. 1 billion is like 10 times 100 million, which is a significant amount. You cannot lose this money if you are not gambling, so there is no real need to use it wisely at that point. But what would I do? First, I would buy all the cars that I have ever wanted. For me, cars are not just a means of transportation. They represent something more. I would also buy some expensive items I have always desired, such as a yacht, a personal jet, and a large house somewhere in the Americas, complete with its own tennis court, basketball court, cinema, big pool, and many interesting amenities that I would rarely use because I would eventually grow accustomed to them. Even with all these purchases, I may have just spent 100 million, not billions. The most important thing is that I would take that money and travel the world. It is important to remember that while having cars, houses, and expensive items may be nice, what truly matters are our memories. It is essential to live a life that we can share with our children and grandchildren. Story 145. Build rockets, satellites, and cars. Buy Instagram and act erratically. Create 500 bioengineered children, hack the entire computer system of Iran, and help Kim Jong-un dismantle it from within. Once I have crippled and bankrupted Iran with my sleeper programs and special glasses, I hop in my rockets with my army of children, and we blast off to my secret base on Jupiter. We watch World War III on city-sized flat screens we obtained from the Federation on Uranus. We launch my planet restoration space freighter, the Muskraker, and return to Earth, which is now completely sterilized and in full nuclear winter. My children and I will then repopulate my new planet and become the elite ruling class of the future before we invade and annex every other planet in the solar system, starting with Uranus, as they were our ally. Story 146. I am cleaning my home and taking time off to do a deep clean of my apartment. Then, I will buy the furniture I want and get a small personal truck for utility purposes. I plan to relax as well. Story 147. Create a foundation called Capitalism is Broken and allocate $950 million to address local problems in conservative areas worldwide. Story 148. I would hire a lawyer, accountant, and financial advisor in that order. I need to understand the laws, know what I have, and know what to do with it. Story 149. I would buy a nice house, not a mansion or anything, just a nice house, and put the rest of the money toward the various charitable foundations I want to start. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.